Hello everyone, welcome to another show creation tutorial. We're gonna go through the entire process from modeling to texturing. Hopefully we can cover everything. To start with, we need some model, right? Just to keep things simple, I'm gonna just go for a cylindrical shape. Make polymesh 3D and just extend it, right? And I can do a Dynamesh to Dynamesh it. Okay, so this is not supposed to be for beginners, so I will not explain what I'm doing sometimes, like, you know what Dynamesh is, right? So you don't have to, I don't think I have to explain this to you. Yeah, so a Dynamesh, right? And then just quickly create some sort of like a leg shape. And that's actually the X direction, so probably not. Okay, so that's what I want to go for. Okay. And down here we extend it and then just have the basic shape of the foot. You know what, let me turn on symmetry. So that's the front. Alright, and just drag it down, push it forward. Alright, Dynamesh it. Okay. Alright, so some basic foot shape. Okay. Alright, not gonna elaborate too much. So, to start with, we need to, based on the foot shape you have, right, you need to then get a copy model as a start. So what you do is you do a duplication of your model. You just mask the foot. I think I wanted to make something a bit longer, so maybe I'll make this guy also longer here. Okay, so I need to actually delete the old one. Okay, it's the new one here. Dynamesh it. Just a few more work. So yeah, and maybe that's the upper leg. Did too much over there. Let me turn off the back face mask. Okay. Yeah, just to have something to work with. I should have grabbed some model first. Anyway, so what I want to do is get this model duplicated to have a copy, and then from there we start build our show shapes or boot shapes. Okay, so what we need to do here is we need to go just a few more tweaks. Yeah, we need to go duplicate this model, right? Have a duplication. Okay, and then we need to do what we need to do here is grab the areas we want to use as the boot. Ctrl W to give the group, Ctrl Shift and click, do a delete hidden to get a copy of that, and we just Dynamesh it, right? And then what we need to do then is start to tweak the base shape to make it look more like the show we're building, right? So I'm gonna make this guy a bit bigger by inflate it. Okay. Now we don't have perspective, so let me turn that on, but I don't need it to be also super strong. So here I'm gonna go to the document or draw here. I'm gonna change the angle of view to something smaller, like 30 instead of 50. That's gonna make it a little bit better. Okay. All right. Turn off the symmetry here. So I'm gonna drag the shape around to make it a bit bigger so that it can wrap around the foot pretty good. So depending on what kind of show you're making, they may be more like this, so it's like bulging out in the front, or they may be more flat. if it's like a leather show, the middle part here is not really that thick, right? It's just gonna be quite flat. Let me check that over here. Okay, and then let me tweak this part. Okay, all right, and then I want it to be a bit longer, but maybe on the top I want it to be opened a bit more. Okay, so just trying to tweak the shape. Okay, the back also. Let me grab the top, control click, and then blur this mask. And maybe just extend it a little bit. Okay, so that way I have some variation when I reach it to the bottom. Okay, maybe move this forward a little bit. Okay, and here let me use damp standard and holding down Alt and drag to create a line here. That's gonna be the front contour, and I can smooth it out. Okay, so spend enough time here to tweak the shape. Okay, and also based on what kind of shoes you're having, maybe it's having some high heel or just slightly high heel, right? You can also have that variation here. That means you have to change the internal geometry also if you wanted to do that. So if I want to raise this guy, right, I have to raise my original shape there to compensate that. Okay. All right, back here to the show shape. Okay. So again, you want to go to also different angles, right? It's basically what's should be taken care of all the time. So from the bottom view, if you take a look at a show, you can see one thing that is interesting is that on the bottom, this part looks symmetrical, more or less. It's the front that does have an asymmetrical result, and it's just basically favoring to have a little bend over here. So if you take a look at the line, it's symmetrical here, and just bend it forward. Actually, the other direction. This direction. Not bend forward, but bend inwards. Okay. And you can just drag things around. The important thing, or the better thing you can do here is you just follow a reference. Okay, so it's like a tilted head, right, and a base, and it's like symmetrical on the bottom again, right. You can make also the base a bit smaller compared to the front. Okay, yeah. And then of course after you're tweaking, you have to go to different angles and make sure that that propagates to other parts, not just the bottom, right? Find some of the imperfect parts, but you know, in this stage what we're doing is basically the base shape, right? So you don't worry too much about like if some of the smaller things are they changing in the right way or not, right? That's not your concern yet. It's the bigger things. You can use the polish also to polish the base of the show to have some flat surface that can help you to have a better understanding of how what you're building here on the from the bottom. Okay. Okay. So again, what I want to have is a front that is having some sharper top. Maybe what I can do is polish it on the top by using edge polish. Smooth that out. Give this guy a little mask. Invert that, blur it, and then put the pivot here and just rotate it up and drag it up. Okay. All right. All right, just some more tweaking. Okay. All right, it doesn't matter how you approach this, right? The important thing is you know what you're building. That's oftentimes the problem, right? It's not because, okay, I'm not that good yet because I'm just not that good. Maybe, but that's not the deciding factor. The deciding factor is that do you understand the shape you're building? If you don't understand it, then yeah, you will have trouble building it, no matter how good you are. So spend more time, do some research, right? Take a look at the show model and see, okay, what does it look like from the front exactly? Can I summarize it into something simpler, like a triangle, a square, or whatever? What's the proportion, right? So what's gonna be the proportion between those two parts? If I draw a line in the middle, right, where does this line land? If you spend enough time to understand this, you have better chance of making the shape looks exactly what you want. And after that tweaking, I think my actual model there needs to also do some change. Okay. I wanted to have the front a bit pointier, so I'm gonna grab that and drag it to make it longer. Okay. Okay, let me take a look at my reference. Now, I'm having reference too. I'm not just do everything from scratch or imagination. I also need some reference to give me some better guidance. Okay. Unless you're making something that is not real, right? Otherwise, you do need reference. There's no shame on that. Okay. I don't think in the front it should look this shifted. Alright, so I spent 12 minutes on this, and that's probably not enough. Okay, so you should spend more time on this, okay, until you're happy from all angles again, all different angles, not just one angle, but all the angles you can see, right? Make sure that they're all good, they're all doing the things you want them to do, right? And then you move on. Okay, I think I'm having this weird tilting thing. I'm gonna tilt it back a little bit. And then yeah, smooth it a little bit. Okay, tweak that. Alright, so let's move on to the next video, and we can go ahead and start adding different portions of the show to give it detail. Okay, so now what we have is just the base shape.